Welcome to the Greater Wealth, Edge Radio Australia. I'm the shaved monkey, Travis Carter. We got Derek. I'm exhausted. I've been building, I've been modifying, I've been cutting, I've been mounting. So today I'm being the barefoot investor. My feet hurt, my heels are cracked, and Derek loves it.
Do I get the violin out now, or
Yeah, if
it's
you want.
already out?
You know, I'm kind of excited because I previewed some of these videos you've done, and I'm loving what I'm hearing. By the way,
Yeah, it's a big.
you know, I'll put my thongs back on. I think my feet smell.
Travis, it's really exciting. Crypto has just entered a whole new era, and that's what we're looking at today. Something potentially historic happened in Washington last week, and the crypto markets noticed. They got very, very excited about it. Let's kind of hook back to what was setting up for. We've got some footage here of, Vice President Vance having a bit of a say on what was going on, what's setting up. They've been debating for months on the Clarity Act behind closed doors. And what's been the sticking point is that the banks weren't happy that crypto exchanges could offer to clients the ability to have yield on their coins, on their stable coins. Because then what's the need of putting your money in a bank type of thing? And they're kind of going, well, we've had to adhere to all these licenses. And so there's been even rumors that there were shouting matches behind closed doors and all this sort of stuff trying to sort this out. Well, now both parties are agreeing. The crypto exchanges are happy. The banks seem to be happy. A couple of weeks ago, they were saying, the banks were saying, yep, we got to pass the Clarity Act, which is a big change as far as this story is concerned.
Especially the wording is important in this situation.
Absolutely. And now what's stalling things is they wanted to get things done before the recess in Congress, and they had to have a bipartisan agreement in terms of the Republicans and the Democrats agreeing, yes, we're going to pass this. They couldn't get it together by that point. So let's just set it up. Let's lead to this next video with Vance and what he had to say in terms of where things are going.
All right, here we go. And we hit the button.
Feel good about it.
Oh, I'm an idiot. I forgot to reset the video.
The Crypto Clarity Act would give a lot of, dare I say, clarity to the crypto investment scheme. And you're talking about tens of trillions of dollars of potential investment that could literally make millionaires overnight. Do we have any notion of when that's going to clear the Senate where it is sitting right now?
So I was actually hopeful it would clear the Senate before the August recess. We certainly think we're going to get a vote on it. There are a couple of senators on the GOP side who are holding out, and also a couple of Democrats who are stalling this thing. So we've got to do some work with our Senate colleagues, both Democrats and Republicans, to get it done. Man, you're absolutely right. This is a very important piece of legislation. The reason why America has led in crypto and blockchain innovation is, of course, because we've had a president who has supported American innovators. But what those innovators are telling us now is that the industry is mature enough that we need some clear rules. It's a bit of a wild, wild west out there. And actually what that allowed in that wild west was for the Biden administration to go after our innovators because there weren't clear rules, which just empowered the weaponized DOJ to go after some of our entrepreneurs and our innovators. We need some clear rules. These guys want to follow the rules, but they need clear guidance. The crypto industry is behind this. The small tech companies are behind it. It's a very, very important piece of legislation. We're working on it every day, and we're just going to have to see how the vote ultimately shakes out, but I feel good about it.
So I have to say, I'm loving this, and here's a couple of reasons why. I can anticipate that there's going to be a case where you'll be able to start getting a mortgage using crypto instead of using fiat currency. You're going to be able to buy a car with crypto instead of fiat currency. Like, there's going to be so much you can do instead of going through the banks.
The opportunity is even bigger than that.
Yeah.
The opportunity is this, that you could potentially loan against your own crypto assets.
Correct.
And have your own loan going.
Correct.
So you don't need the bank, and you potentially don't lose your own crypto.
And so that's where I was leading to, because you are doing it through the crypto side of things. You don't need to go through the bank. You're not going through the, like, what are the word I'm looking for, or their regulations and requirements. And you know how they say sort of like you've got to have a maximum loan to value ratio of 120%, and then we're going to repossess your house, or, you got to come up with X amount of deposit. Certain crypto holders will have different rules and regulations to what they're happy to accept. And that's going to pretty much open up the market to a whole heap of new people who aren't normal, who it's going to give them a fair chance to get into a house. And considering how bad the housing crisis is in Australia, Imagine going to America, getting crypto at American interest rates, and then bring that crypto to Australia to purchase a house.
Well, you might not have to if it's in a decentralized fashion. And this is the interesting thing about it. When you enter into a smart contract, it really takes the emotions out. It evens the playing field. It doesn't look at your credit history or whatever. It's kind of like, here's the deal, take it or leave it. Do you agree to it or not? And there's no emotion about it. It's just it's been programmed to do X, Y, Z, and away it goes. Now, there are risks involved in all of the stuff that people have to do their due diligence on, but this is the era we're coming into. You're absolutely right. It's changing the playing field completely. And it really, you can see why the banks are getting a bit concerned about this. Is like, is there going to be a need for us? So, yeah, that's a big one. And then in this space, in this time, President Trump actually brought the crypto and technology leaders together at the White House and publicly called on Congress to pass a fair version of the Clarity Act. If we have a look at this next piece of footage, take a listen to what he's saying here. It's really interesting as those industry leaders stand behind him.
All right, here we go.
Years ago, our country was dead, and now our country is the hottest country anywhere in the world. There's nobody close. No other country is close, and every country will admit it. So now we need Congress to take the next step by passing the Clarity Act, a fair version of the Clarity Act, and this landmark structure legislation. It's a very, very powerful structured legislation which will keep us ahead of China, keep us ahead of everyone else. Will open the door to the next wave of innovations and innovators.
And that's what's really interesting here is he's wanting to stay ahead of China. He reveals quite a lot when he states that. And China, interesting enough, has in the past banned crypto, and then it's been on-off type of situation. But this is really clarifying, no pun intended, where things are going in America. And of course, you see how he's been negotiating with other nations, wanting to get hold of rare earths. If you can secure your economy against rare earths, you have a real thing in terms of your economy being backed by something that everybody wants, as opposed to a fiat currency that is depegged from the gold standard. And that's where it's all going. And this is why this is incredible. Now, the market reaction to these announcements was dramatic, particularly because they're all in the same room. And Bitcoin broke past 70,000 US dollars. Ethereum, XRP, and other major cryptocurrencies rallied strong as well. And Bitcoin ultimately gained more than 20% across the week. Now, that's not a surprise in the sense of Bitcoin leading the way. But what was interesting here is that we saw coins like Solana take a massive 6-minute spike. And that got people's attention. So what happened was that Solana had been climbing mid-90s to the low hundreds US dollars, and then it tagged just in US time just before midnight, it tagged a high of about 102.74. In the minutes right after midnight, it collapsed to a low of $87.64, went shooting right down. That's about a 15% drop from top to bottom in about 6 minutes or so. Now, what was interesting about that is there was a lack of liquidity in the market. In other words, there weren't a lot of people trading. And I do wonder if that was because it was at midnight US time, where most of those traders are probably sleeping. But what it really did was it flushed out a lot of traders in the billions in terms of who were in long positions and were leveraged. So when they were using margin on their crypto, they got flushed out of that whole position. And then about 6 months later, it's kind of back where it all started. And this is the thing about such a volatile market with crypto. And when people are putting leverage on it, that is the big risk that they take on when they do that kind of action.
I do have a question. I want to go back to that Trump thing they were saying, like he wants it to be fairer, cleaner, and all that sort of stuff. I've had this, I'm going to call it a conspiracy theory. This is my conspiracy theory. Give it 10 years. I don't think we're going to, or maybe 15. Because the speed at which we're developing, we're going to the moon, we're sending stuff to the Mars. How long? Like my thought is probably not in my lifetime, but definitely in my kids' lifetime, we're going to start having colonies interstellar. So Mars, the moon, other places. Do you think this is sort of like gearing up to start having a currency that's for the entire world rather than just having like the US dollar, the Australian dollar, the Japanese yen, and all that sort of stuff? Is this sort of like an alternative? So you've still got the inter-country currencies, but then you've also got the interstellar currency.
I think long term, perhaps. But I think in the meantime, nations will still want their own currencies because that gives them advantage in different places. When you look at the whole forex market as it is, right?
Yeah.
And you look at one country and how its currency has grown stronger and another
Mm.
one has grown weaker. And people like to trade those differences and those movements as well. We call that the Forex market. I think that's going to be around for a while. Nationalism is very strong at the moment in the world, and globalism is going out the door.
Yep.
And I think so that's a different mindset. But in the long term, yeah, perhaps there's a lot of difficulties with that. But certainly in terms of transactions, cross-border payments, interacting with I wasn't going to say Bitcoin, I meant to say cryptocurrency ledgers across those payment rails, that infrastructure is going in. And when you're bringing traditional finance into that, it's becoming far more interoperable in relation to how cryptocurrency and traditional finance will talk to each other from a technological perspective. Australia's been experimenting in this at the beginning of 2026 in terms of 3 of the 4 major banks and with the Reserve Bank taking a bit of a hands-off approach and allowing them to do that, and facilitating that. So that's certainly, it's happening in Australia, it's happening in America. There are other nations that have already passed their own version of the Clarity Act, namely in the last, in about July of this year, and they were South Korea, Russia, and Japan. And those nations, particularly Japan, has really embraced cryptocurrency. It's far ahead of the rest of the world, including other places like UAE. Yeah,
I know Vietnam is ultra supportive of the cryptocurrencies, even to the point where you can go to the shopping centers and you just do a crypto transfer for purchase of shopping and all that sort of stuff. They've got little QR codes. You just scan your QR code and you pay things that way already. So it is getting there. A lot of these countries, I think they see this as an opportunity for them to be able to leapfrog through standard development process so they can sort of like jump up ahead of their competition. So that's why I'm saying I think a lot of this is about setting the framework for much greater things in the next, say, 3-4 decades. So that was just my thoughts.
Travis, it even goes beyond that. You see 3 worlds colliding here. You see cryptocurrency development going on. You see artificial intelligence coming to the table, and then also quantum computing, which you're very much over. And what you're going to have is, we're already hearing talk of bots paying each other and doing payments and deals together in those transactions. Now, does somebody want to give somebody their entire sovereign account in their accounts, or their these companies that set up their own sovereign accounts in terms of preservation of wealth? No, absolutely not. You've got to have restrictions in place, and don't just let the AI do whatever it wants to. But for transactions that are perhaps less than $100 in some situations, people go, yeah, okay, well, we're happy to experiment with that, with those limitations on, and we'll keep it to that kind of account, and that's all it can spend. But that's the world we're walking into, where science fiction is now becoming reality. It's crazy.
Yep. So just remember, the AI and all that sort of stuff is just a tool. It's the person using it that's going to be the evil genius. So yeah, anyway.
Or even for good.
Yeah,
right. It's you're absolutely right in the sense it's not the technology that's evil. It's the heart of humanity behind it, which can be for good or evil.
Yep. So we do have another video here. So you want me to go to the Coinbase one?
Let's have a look at this. This is the response that Brian Armstrong from Coinbase said. He's had a lot to do with the debates behind closed doors with the banks and the crypto exchanges, and some would say he was holding out from some of those negotiations. Have a listen to what he's saying now.
Senate vote coming up on September 15th. Leader Thune was good enough to go and schedule that, so we now have a very clear date when the Senate's going to vote on the Clarity Act, and it's been a strong bipartisan compromise, which leads me to believe that it's going to get far more than 60 votes. And the administration, just yesterday, we had this meeting with the president and the top regulators at the SEC and CFTC, and that was the big topic of conversation. Is there was a big sense of urgency from this administration. Let's get Clarity done. Let's get it over the line. So both of those things, I think, are contributing to this Bitcoin price bump. And I personally believe we're at the beginning of the next crypto bull run.
Did you hear that date, September 15, 2026? That's really interesting to hear, because this has been the argy-bargy. When is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? They would believe it was going to happen a long time ago. So now they're actually coming out with a specific date. This is when Congress is going to vote on it.
So the thing you got to remember, when people start throwing dates around, it's because they've heard it from somewhere else. So a lot of these guys, because they are in high-level communications with the federal government and all that sort of stuff, they're privy to a lot of information that we don't have.
Well, in the previous video, Brian's standing there with the president.
Spot on. So the point I'm saying, if they start banding around a date, you can be fairly certain that it's going to be close or around that date, if not on that exact date. So I'm really interested to see what's going to happen, because once this Clarity Act comes through, along with the Genius Act, I think that the impact is going to be massive. So I'm really, really interested to see how big of a bull run this is going to be.
And yeah, people want to do deals with the United States. So if America is going that way, then the rest of the world's going to go jump on board and go, well, we have to if we're going to trade with the United States. And I think that's going to be the response there. That's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yep. The next one that I really want to see, because you got to remember, America's bringing a lot more manufacturing into America. They want to trade through the USD. How many countries and different manufacturers and I go, no, I'd rather trade through crypto instead. So I'm really interested to see how America is going to react international transfers, especially for large, like let's say you've got a container ship full of, I don't know, let's say iron ore. So, and we're talking $50 million worth of iron ore in the ship, and you're sending one every 3 days. Is there the liquidity in the crypto market to be able to handle that sort of volume?
Well, I think they'll just do that in stable coins, right? So for those who don't know what a stable coin is, it like a crypto representation of fiat currency. So you're doing US dollars, you have a stable coin that operates on those kind of premises. But Australia will have one as well.
You still need the raw fiat, like the backing for it to have that. So has enough fiat currency been converted into stable coins? You know, is it put aside for those stable coins?
Well, you know, there's an interesting rumor that's going on. And you bring up an interesting point. So the Genius Act has legislated that those issuers of stablecoins do have to have that in their treasuries. You're absolutely right. So it's not just created out of thin air, so to speak. The powerful thing about that is that's giving authorization for issuance, not just to a central bank, but also to a crypto company. But the rumor is that Treasury is taking a more leading role in the issuance of currency in the United States than the Federal Reserve is. And so that's going to be a space that I'm watching very, very closely. How does Treasury operate in this space now? Where's it going? And what does that do to the national debt, which just passed $40 trillion in the United States?
So this is a perfect time for the people watching at home. So Derek, you've got a brand new website, blueskyfactory.com. You've dropped the AU. Now, Derek does do a couple of crypto courses on there. You've got a couple of events coming up, or you were planning a couple of events coming up. When are they?
So the first one is in Perth, in live in the room, and that's on the 3rd of September, Thursday nights.
3rd of September, Thursday night. Where is it held?
Country Comfort Hotel.
Perfect. And how do we get tickets if you want to go?
So just go to our website, blueskyfactory.com.
So BLUskyfactory.com.
Now, and click on events.
Perfect. Now, there's a lot of people out there who are a little bit nervous about what's going on, because crypto's always been volatile, and now it's getting a little bit like even more volatile. So I do want to give a shout out to another guy, Jeff Bowman from Wealth by Design. He runs a platform called Wealth 99, where they insure your crypto 100%, and it's Australian based. So if you are concerned about it, and you want to look at a quick way to save and protect your crypto, especially with some of the cybersecurity hacks that have been going on, please reach out to Jeff Bowman. Just email Edge and we'll put you in contact with him as well. So done the info commercials internally and all that sort of stuff. So let's move on. And for the people that are listening in online, remember on the Facebook, the Edge Radio Facebook page and the Edge Radio YouTube channel, you can actually send us messages and we'll come through on screen and we'll be able to answer them live on air.
So there's a part of the coins and using that through cross-border payments, but a lot of people don't consider what would happen on the ledger. And what's happening is real-world assets, or RWA as they call them for short, are now starting to be represented with cryptocurrency. So this is a fascinating insight as to what they're developing. We've got footage here of Robinhood, the CEO from there, and he's been talking about what they've been working on technologically wise. Now, we do notice that a lot of the United Arab Emirates is at the moment already putting real estate on cryptocurrency ledgers, right? So when they do a settlement of property, that's where it goes. This latest development is really, really interesting as to what they are putting together. Take a look.
All right, let's pop this one onto the stage.
And we're at the beginning of a super cycle, and it's going to take over the entire financial system. Now, a month ago, we launched Robinhood Chain outside the US, and this is our crypto blockchain. And one of the interesting things about it is it includes stock tokens as a primitive, which give tokenized exposure to US stocks. Now, we started with 90 of them. Now we're up to 190. And these trade 24/7, and you can move them around the blockchain like you can Bitcoin or any other crypto asset. And what they really do is give exposure to U.S. stocks to people in over 120 countries. And I think this provides a roadmap for what the financial system can look like. Now, I think tokenization in the U.S. has come up, and I'd say it's broken up into two camps. There's sort of two sides to it. On one side, enthusiasts that just want to get their hands on this new technology, new capability, and they're asking us, when is it coming to the U.S.? What's that going to look like? On the other side, there's people that say, well, we already have simple access to markets here. We have products like Robinhood that provide fractional shares, 24/5, it's not 24/7. So what's even the point? And so through my post, I kind of outlined the three key improvements on an infrastructure level that can actually impact people's lives in a positive way and make it easier in America for.
So did you hear what he said there at the beginning? A new financial era is coming in.
Yeah.
All right. This is saying that basically cryptocurrency will represent stocks on the stock exchange, and you can take them off the exchange. And perhaps, I mean, it's suggesting, it didn't come out and quite say it, but could you put that in a private wallet? This is extraordinary when you think about it. Does it actually sit on the exchange, trading 24/7? The possibilities here are extraordinary.
So I know there's a lot of stocks that will allow out of market trading already. So Nvidia is a prime example of that one. So you can trade that practically 24/7 already. I can see this has been very, very good for a lot of people because there's people out there at the moment who have made their entire financial footprint using crypto. So they literally do not use fiat currency much at all anymore. They've tried to do it to remain as anonymous as possible, as private as possible, especially the ones that want to like travel the world without really being tracked by what's going on. So this is a great way for them to be able to do that. I've got a couple of questions. So let's say, for example, Johnson & Johnson is considered one of the greatest dividends payers of all time. They pay a dividend every quarter religiously. I don't think their dividend payout's gone down in the last nearly 60 years. That's why they're considered arguably the gold standard. With a company like that, let's say you do use your crypto to purchase tokenized Johnson & Johnson, and then they're paying you a dividend. Do you get paid the dividend in crypto, or do you get paid the dividend in fiat?
Okay. We don't, those rules are still being defined.
Yeah. So
what I think will happen is this, is that you will be able to own a portion of a share in some instances. So take Berkshire and Hathaway, right? Where at some point, they've been up to 22,000 for one stock.
Oh, I saw them at 300,000.
Well, right. It's big numbers, right? So 4 to 5 digits. Some of these stocks trade that high. So this is allowing people to get a share, no pun intended, of those kind of shares in a fractional way like crypto does. What I think technologically may happen is they wrap it up in some sort of technology where that represents that part, and then it's probably put in a vault of some description, and then to unwrap it, so you can move it around as wrapped, or pay someone with that wrapped equity, and then unwrap it to convert it back to fiat. Those kind of technological things, we're still figuring this out, and I think people will have a better idea once Clarity Act is passed as to how that's going to operate logistically.
So I think there's a couple of things that I'm really excited about. Being able to buy, a lot of people go out there and they want to buy property, especially younger people, but they can't afford it. Like they might only have like 5,000 saved up. They don't want to do the shared equity with the government because it's a bit of a joke. So what they can do then, instead of buying a full house, they might be able to go buy 5% of investment property. So that's where I think this is really, really going to help young Australians. And if you can start showing you've got that rental income coming in as a share percentage of a house, that actually counts towards, for a lot of lenders in Australia, that will actually count as capacity when you go to buy your actual own house. And so that's what I'm really excited about.
And there are other cash flow opportunities in the crypto world that people may or may not be familiar with. There's things called staking, which gives you yield from that. There's also liquidity providers where basically they provide the pairs for people to trade against on an exchange. Now, there are different risks involved in all of this. It's not an endorsement of, do one or the other. This is just, those are the opportunities that are presenting. You've got to do your due diligence and look at all the terms and conditions in terms of how you can get in and out, and how liquid are those assets. But the whole world is changing very quickly. And I've been talking about it for a couple of years now, and it's been happening quietly behind the scenes. Guys, this is accelerating into a new economy. And as I've been saying, and at our event, we'll be talking exactly about that, accelerate into the new economy, preparing for 2030 and beyond.
Yep. So a couple of things that are of concern for me. I trade, and this is an endorsement for Interactive Brokers. Tasty Trade's another good one. There's Robinhood, another good trading platform. There's heaps of them out there. So just pick the one that's right for you. I personally like the way Interactive Brokers works. I find it's very easy to do the trading the way I trade. So the fees that I pay with Interactive Brokers is tiny, especially on the New York Stock Exchange. One thing I've noticed is when I had a look at some of the other trading platforms to trade crypto, as the same way that I do shares, the fees and the commissions are through the roof. That's one of the reasons why I don't actually do the crypto much myself at the moment. So I think that's one of the things they really need to get under control. I think they need to start winding back the business. For me, it's just not worth it.
I think there might be different fees for different coins as well. Like the gas fees on certain coins are a lot higher than others.
Ethereum is shocking,
right? So yeah, for those kind of situations, you may see that play out. But look, it's all changing 24/7. Even that has different notions for me, particularly like a lot of my students who we've taught about stock market options trading, stuff like that. They burn the midnight oil when they're living in Australia, type of thing, right?
Yeah. Good thing I'm naturally nocturnal already. So
yeah. Whereas others might go, look, I can't trade during the day. I have a job, so when I come home, I can do that. But those hours make it far more flexible for those who live internationally outside of the United States.
The one I'm really excited about is if they do stock options through the crypto. If you can do stock options 24 hours a day through the crypto, I think that's going to be like,
yeah. Well, I think the traditional finance is coming on board. You're seeing the merge happen, and I think that will play out. I'm looking at certain CEOs of different projects, crypto projects, and they've had that traditional finance background. They've seen the opportunities in the crypto space and are building products in alignment with those kind of rules around that in terms of derivatives and those kind of products. What's interesting too, you mentioned Interactive Brokers before. They have just allowed artificial intelligence available to the clientele to use with trading as well. And so you're seeing AI come into the trading space as well. Guys, the whole thing's changing very quickly.
So actually, this is going to bring up a good point. And I was talking to Mr. Malloy, who's sitting just there in a weird hat. It's not his normal hat. So I feel uncomfortable with him. It's like the stalker behind the scenes. Anyway, so I was thinking about it today, and the reason I burnt the midnight oil, we're in the new studio, so we're building the walls, the soundproofing, and all that sort of stuff.
It's looking great.
So last night we got probably 3/4 of this studio all soundproofed and good. We got the TVs mounted, the new cameras are mounted. Anyway, so the point I was looking there is like having the correct tools and the correct materials to be able to do something makes a huge difference. So when it comes to the finance crypto side of things, having the right knowledge-based tools. I'm not talking like having a really fancy laptop computer. I'm talking about having the right mindset, having the right knowledge about going into things, and having the correct understanding on what you're doing and keeping yourself up to speed with those things is crucial. So with the ever-changing, like it's literally changing on a daily basis at the moment. Even if you've done some of these like training courses or how do I do options trading and like crypto courses and all that sort of stuff, I highly recommend doing them again for the sole fact that everything's changing. You got to keep your tools up to date. And if you're not up to date, then you don't make mistakes.
The world is accelerating so quickly. What used to take 6 months takes 2 weeks now.
No,
it's extraordinary.
Seconds now.
Yeah, and in seconds. It's becoming that way. And I think people don't realize the vulnerability that they are in the job market. That's going to be shaken up by this new technology that's coming on, guys. So to get the education, well, I would start that process ASAP if you haven't already, because you've got to learn certain stuff as the world is changing very, very quickly. And we can facilitate that and make it very easy.
So final prompt, what's your website again?
It's blueskyfactory.com.
Beautiful.
No E in Blue Sky. So
if you can't find it for whatever reason, send info@edgeradioaustralia.com an email and we'll point you in the right directions. Also, a big shout out to Siang, our new grant writer sales guy. He's sitting over there munching on a heap of food. So I just want to say thanks to Siang for coming in as well. And on that one, it is right on. We got 20 seconds to blur for to be half an hour show. So Derek, thanks for coming in once again. Aaron, quiet as always. Shocking. And that is a wrap in my personal opinion with about 8 seconds to go.